I am your director of human resource, and it is my job to lead you, guide you to your X, and release you of the burden, that one burden that's holding you back from excellence within our system, the burden of resistance. Yes, you are the last batch. You are the last catch, and this is your last chance to flex. Don't resist it. Join us. Join in.
Am I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian just wanted to see anyone. Piss off!
That's the one, because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian.
Hey, Manuel Camp was a real pissant. It was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date. Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
did I do that?
You're insane!
Well, welcome everybody. It is Monday, January 11th, 111. It's all the ones. It is time for another week. It is time for another day of Corona TV, the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing and maybe a little bit of business. But I can promise you one thing, you will learn, you will be inspired. Today you may be shocked, you may be provoked, but you will walk away from the show richer than when you came in. And we will talk about what is richness, right? Where is the money? Show me the money. We will talk about that later. Mr. Stephen Rubin is here and he is watching. Welcome, Stephen. You're in for a show that will shock you. I'm telling you now, or your money back. So today is a very special national day. But before we do that, of course, we have to get into good old fat blogging. 184.2. So I've been able to lose a little bit from last week from my 186, but I'm still not exactly where I want to be and where I need to be. These are the trials and tribulations of sitting on your backside for most of the day, but there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Mr. Tom Morris is here. He's here for the coin of wisdom. You see, there you go. There is the money showing itself. We all need a little bit of coin in our lives. Well, as I was saying today, it is a special day because it is National Learn Your Name in Morse Code Day. National Learn Your Name in Morse Code Day. So I guess I could probably do that. This would be my name in Morse code for those of you that were like just dying to find out. And let me see if I can just do one more thing. If all goes well, I will be able to actually show you what that sounds like. Let's see. How about this? So, you know, this is what happens when you have the producer of one. But let's bring the sound on and let's see if this works for you. Right. Change your life, right? I mean, that was game changing. That was amazing. Now you heard what my name sounds like in Morse code. But I'll tell you one person whose name you do not want to hear in Morse code is my guest today. Why? Because his name is Marcus John Henry Brown. And that literally would take up the entire show in Morse code. So we're not going to do that, are we? But you are just going to love what this man is about, what he has to share, his approach. He is a true artist and a true original. And I'm just absolutely humbled to have him on the show. We actually have a past. Maybe he'll even tell us a little bit about that past. Well, let's also just talk about the rest of the week. A good friend of mine, Sally Hogshead, will be on Wednesday. She is fascinating, and I say that pun intended, because she's built an entire business around fascination. Martin Lindstrom is back in the studio on Thursday, which is just terrific and awesome. One of the smartest marketers and nicest guys. And then on Friday, our community show, Trisha Ben, we've got Wesley Faulkner, we have got Jeff Cottrell, we have got Mr. Josh Burnoff, the other half of Groundswell, and the Amare Factor, all about love. Moshe Engelberg will be with us. So I'm excited for that. Well, let's get through our birthdays because we've got quite a lot of them. Mr. Neil White, Brian Quinn, aka Quinny, happy birthday to you. That was over the weekend. And then today, Robert Nosworthy, Gal Trafon, Beth Cantor, Seth Haberman, Ariel Udlev, Ian Ross, just so many people out there. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, we've got Mo, we've got Rashida, we've got Anthony, we've got Tanya, Christopher, Valentine, David Melzer. Happy birthday to all of you. And I hope you're having a great day, no matter where you are. Well, as you know, the soliloquy is always inspired by my guest. And today, of course, is no different. Today, the soliloquy is called The Greatest Zoom, the greatest show on earth, The Greatest Zoom. And let's just take it away. So for those of you who have been following my little Corona TV journey for a while, you'll note how annoyed I get when people refer to my show or the after show as a call, webinar, or heaven forbid, a presentation. It's not. It's a show. Just like every single presentation I give or used to give is a performance. Now think about that for a moment. Think about the fact that every time I'm on stage, I'm not giving a keynote. I'm not delivering a presentation. I am giving a performance. I've always believed that this is the only mindset one should adopt when standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people. The performance should be filled with surprises, with props, drama, intrigue, comedy, tragedy. Well, that's when, of course, the computer crashes. There should be stories, many of them, interlaced with intense emotion, connecting with your audience. And the audience, they're not passive. They're as much a part of the show as you are. At a minimum, they're the supporting cast, but increasingly so, they are the co-stars as well. Entertainment and experience, they're not optional extras. They're part of the ante-up in the high-stakes game of grabbing attention, capturing hearts and minds, and ultimately making the kind of deep emotional connection that can change jobs, lives, brands, industries, even the world. But you knew all that already, didn't you? Which is why you hide behind a lectern, read from prepared notes, and bury your noses in your laptops. Hey, I'm not insulting you. I'm just borrowing a page from the book of Marcus John Henry Brown, who is both my guest and my muse today. What if you rethought every single meeting, training program, workshop, conference, offsite, or even Zoom, and rebranded it as a show? What if Corona TV was your show? Well, it could be. If you think about it, we're all in the business of breaking through the clutter, desperately trying to be the symphony that somehow can quash the monotonous din of status quo. Our collective creative resources and talent is singularly and solely focused on being original, different, unique, alternative, and yet inside our corporate walls, we obediently play the submissive role of clones. How do you view your new virtual reality? Is it a prison or a ticket out of here? Is it a suffocating box or tapestry of possibilities? Is it a new set of challenges or a fresh start? So you can once and for all turn your back on the talking head known as the Wizard of... The choice is yours, my fellow freaks. So the next time you are called on, get ready to dial up the show in Showman and deliver the performance of your life. Well, that soliloquy was certainly inspired by Marcus John Henry Brown. Let me tell you a little bit about this man. So Marcus John Henry Brown is a performance artist based in Munchen, maybe near the Glockenspiel. He moved to Germany in 1993, having studied art and social context at Donington College of Arts. He has over 25 years of professional communications experience and splits his time between mentoring young creatives, answering questions about the future for brands, and creating performance art that hacks the business context. He has created a series of critically acclaimed performances that look at the relationships between and the impact of technology, culture, and commerce on society. Marcus's performances feel and look like keynotes. They have the aura of a business world spiraling out of control. They've been specifically created for festivals and conference stages, which is why Marcus calls them performance hacks. Marcus is currently researching and producing a series of virtual performances that will take place through 2021 and early 2022, hopefully some of them in person. The performances are based on his long-form poem, A Wicked Pack of Cards. Paul Armstrong in Forbes said this about Marcus: part performance, part lecture and parody. It was like watching a live TED meets Black Mirror live special. Terrifying as it was refreshingly original. Well, will you be terrorized today or will you be mesmerized? Let's bring him onto the show. Welcome, Marcus.
Hello. I'm not really that scary.
Who said you were?
Or am I?
Or are you? Or maybe I'm scary.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
And good night.
Greetings from Munich.
Greetings from Munchen. Now, do you live, in fact, near the Glockenspiel?
I used to live in the center of town, but I'm presuming you're talking about the thing that everybody goes and looks at 12 o'clock midday and blocks the entire center of town.
That would be the one.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Not so much at the moment, but no, we used to live there, but now we've moved to the outskirts of the town. We're older now, need a little bit of peace and quiet, so we've moved to the outskirts, to the burbs. We're next to a forest and the river, so we have a bit of peace and quiet now.
Well, Marcus, this is your official title. You are guest number 186 in this crazy journey series story of mine.
What took you so long? 186. That means 185 other people until you got to me, Joe.
Yeah, but I was just trying to actually, perfect my craft, which is still a work in progress. Can you imagine if you were guest number 1,860, how you'd feel?
Well, I'd be as honored and grateful.
And here is your name in Morse code, by the way.
Yeah, no. Just to clarify, Marcus John Henry is really my name. I have no idea what my mum and dad were thinking about, but that's my name. That's what's on my passport, and it helps with search.
Wait, and I think I called you at one point Michael John, but it's Marcus John Henry, right?
It's Marcus John Henry, yeah.
So,
Marcus, yeah, you got that wrong, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's okay. That's a hack. I'll take it.
And look, and now you're Marcus John Henry Brown. So let's just change it, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's fine. You're all right. Hello, Tom. I'm just noticing that there's some Somebody said hello, so I'm just saying hello to Tom.
Well, you can say hello to Dom Eden, who's saying greetings from Bournemouth.
Hello, Dom. Dom is a good friend and a good follower of Marcus John Henry Brown performances. So it's good to see him on the stream. So hello, Dom. Welcome.
And Mark Master says, "Hi, all. Have a top week and good shifting, Joseph. That Peloton is shouting." And let's see what else. We've got Manuel is here. He is obviously applauding you because no one would applaud me. Why would you do that?
No, he was applauding your soliloquy.
Gordon Fong says, Marcus's performance in Bournemouth was amazing. Never seen anything like it before. The video, no movie that was playing on screen was amazing, which I assume is even better than amazing. Just kidding with you, Gordon. And you knew the amount of time that went into it. And that is seconded by Mark Mosser. So I didn't know there was a Bournemouth connection as well.
Well, we can kind of tie up or tie in the Forbes article. The Forbes article was written off the back of the premiere of The Passing, which was the performance which pretty much changed my life. Actually, it was the one where I found the formula to finally do a performance or a performance hack. So it was the very first time, and I performed it at an event called Silicon Beach, which is in Bournemouth. So I have there are many dear friends in Bournemouth who were there on that day. It was a very special moment, and I think everybody in the audience realized it. It was amazing for me to do it because I was realizing that it was working while I was doing it. I can remember writing it and printing it off and looking at it and thinking, this is the one, this is it. Because I've been playing with these performances. I think I'd written maybe about six or seven up until this part, but they were never quite right. There was always something wrong about them. But The Passing was the one where I thought, oh, bloody hell, this is it. And that was the performance or the piece that kind of changed my trajectory and was my road back to being an artist. So I finally kind of like the segue away from comms world and advertising or comms or consultancy and going back to my roots. So yeah, there is a Bournemouth connection, and they're very dear to me and important, and I love them all. So it's good that they're here.
So they're great, and Mark Masters has become one of my favorite people in the whole world. We will get back to that performance in a moment, but you spoke about your past, right? You spoke about the world that you left behind in that one moment in Bournemouth when you realized a new way forward and a new path. And normally what I like to do is I bring up what I call fun facts, as you've probably seen, about my guests. So now we have a little bit more context in terms of the world you left behind. You wanted to be a professional dancer. I will not show any images of that. I will show an image of when you once sang in front of Prince Charles. This is actually a photograph of what happened in that performance. That
is actually completely inaccurate, Joseph.
Yeah, because he wasn't wearing a skirt at the time, right?
It's not a skirt; it's a kilt.
Of course it is. Or how about this one? This is the world that you really did leave behind. The worst business meeting of your life involved a hangover, tummy trouble, and 1,000 useless toilets. You want to tell us about that story, or are you just happy to leave that one behind as well?
No, I'm more than happy to tell that story. I had been, I was supposed to, one morning I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a ridiculously early flight to to Dusseldorf to then travel by car to Utrecht in the Netherlands for a very, very important meeting. But the night before was a surprise 30th party of a friend of mine, and I had a little bit too much to drink, and I was very, very hungover. So just as I crossed the border into the Netherlands, I realized I was having stomach trouble. Now, I should point out that the company I was going to see was manufactured toilets. And so I ran into the business, ran into their offices and proclaimed very, very loudly, where are the toilets? To which the secretary or the lady at the entrance just kind of like waved her hands and just pointed to thousands of useless toilets. But I did actually find a toilet and managed to do what needed to be done while moaning loudly and praising God and thanking the universe that it had happened and that I was safe and sound. But what I didn't realize that somebody was actually outside listening to all of this. And I only noticed when I was washing my hands. And we just nodded at each other. And I thought, well, oh, dearie me, how embarrassing. It can't get any worse than this. It did. The person who was standing washing his hands was actually the person I was supposed to be having the meeting with. It wasn't a very good meeting. So that's the meeting. That's the thing about the toilets. Yes. So moving on swiftly.
So did you get the business was it a pitch, or was it a piece of client work that was short-lived?
It was part of a large procurement process, and I can't say any more than that because of an NDA.
Oh, all right. So that's awesome. I mean, Tom says that's the greatest story ever told, and you're definitely getting a lot of good feedback here as well. I
wish I'd got some good feedback on the day. I can tell you that for nothing. But pays your money, take your chance.
So you turn to God, you pray to God. God did not help you, and so you turn to the guy below, and you turn to the dark arts, the dark magic, the occult, in terms of finding your inspiration and your muse. And when I said, "What are you excited about?" you said, "I'm excited about art as alchemy and business as the occult." And there's something deep, magical, mystical, frightening, and exhilarating about this path that you have chosen. We can talk about a wicked pack of cards, because I know that this has become the backdrop against this exploration. Which came first, a wicked pack of cards, or this Bournemouth presentation that proved to be so game-changing in your life?
A very interesting question. Difficult to actually. A wicked pack of cards is based on a performance. My very first performance that I ever saw was at Dartington College of Arts 30 years ago. It was a performance of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland by two senior students at the college, a man called Big John and another guy called Trevor. And they performed this, and I was listening to this and watching it, and it was just two guys on top of a hill in Devon, in the middle of the countryside, with burning tar and burning barrels and things, very, very pagan. And I just became fascinated by this the poem. And at that moment, I realized I wanted to do something with T.S. with The Wasteland. And it took 30 years to do. It was 30 years in the making. What that was a wicked pack of cards. So a wicked pack of cards is heavily influenced by Eliot, in particular The Wasteland, But there's also other stuff in there, the hunting of the Snark, Prose Edda, so Norse mythology and stuff like that. So it's always been there, kind of bubbling under the surface. The Passing trilogy was a work in progress, which took a number of years to make. I think the exploration it was kind of the culmination of an exploration of trying to find out a better way of performing on a conference stage. So one of my first major, what I would call my first major keynote, was 2013 at the Republica in Berlin. It was a standard keynote, and I was walking around after I did it and thought, well, look at all the resource that we have here and a large audience, and they've paid money to see stuff. That's yeah. So I've been trying to find interesting ways of telling stories. I don't think I happen to be very, very good at doing a normal keynote. I think that may have something to do with the fact that I'm not particularly interested in doing a normal keynote, because I think they're dull. I'm more interested in conveying a story in an interesting way that has an emotional impact on the audience, and challenges their thinking and invites them to maybe reconsider their behavior. So the performances that I do, I've never performed any of my things in a gallery or in a museum or in a theater. I've only ever done them at conferences or at business conferences or business events or internal kind of corporate events, because I believe that those are the people, that's the audience that need to think about what they're doing and their impact on society. So a wicked pack of cards is a deviation from that particular piece of thinking. Let's call it that. The Passing trilogy is very, very much focused. You can see on the screen there, that's Johnston. He's an obedience influencer from the Passing performance, and it's all very much focused on the way on how corporations want to make money, how society has become so infatuated with the idea of influence, and how a corporation, in this case, the corporation is called the Coalition. It forces its employees to become citizens, and looks at its own revenue and says, "Hey, we have so much revenue. We have more revenue than the GDP of all of these countries. We are bigger than countries. We have more power than governments." And then they take over the world. So the guy with the cross on his face is Tyler Savior, or Tyler X. A very, very sinister, menacing character, but he is actually nothing more than the director of human resources at the Coalition.
Of course he is.
Yeah, so and
we've all had them. We've all had directors of HR that look exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think you've ever had a director of HR who's installed a program which is called From Human to Resource. So these are kind of like the ideas in my performances. A wicked pack of cards is a build on that. I'm interested in art as alchemy, because I think that artists, it's a very postmodern thing to kind of ask the question, what is art?
But I want to go back to, I'm fascinated by this man on the stage who, when I was mesmerized with Flex, and I'm watching this, and you are just, you really are, it's not so much that you're attacking the audience, but you really are hitting these exposed nerves, these inconvenient truths. It is a performance, and you just sense the level of discomfort in the audience. And obviously you're aware of it. It's not like it's a surprise. But there's something that's so edgy about what you do. And I would love for you to talk about, I mean, you've chosen to, as you say, to deliver these inspiring performances in front of corporate audiences. I can just see them with their, their button downs and their jackets and, and addicted to their social media feeds. Tell us what's going on in that dynamic, and how you are aware of and connected with and in touch with this audience, knowing full well that some people are just going to be completely out of their, comfort zones, to the almost to the extreme.
Well, it's helpful that it's helpful that I know that this is it's a conceit. It's a story. When I started out doing these things, I was concerned about that. I was concerned about losing audiences, or making people angry, or I think it's a normal human reaction that, if you're standing on the stage, you want people to love you. I sat down and had a good, long, hard talk with myself, and came up with the psycho trick of just saying, Marcus, you only have to reach one person in the audience. If you've reached one person and touched them in a way that they reconsider their behavior, how they're using technology, how they work within a corporation, how they run their business, or just how they are as a human, then mission accomplished. And that was a real help. I mean, that was the real breakthrough for me. So I have the most fun of everybody in the room, because I'm the only person who can see the entire performance, because the audience is part of the performance. So watching people squirm in their chairs is a great joy. It's squirm for all of the right reasons. So when you kind of confront people with a human resources director that's coming with another program, another thing that another initiative that we're rolling out throughout the company, and how this all works is explained in the second performance of the trilogy, called the Sensorium Process, which is where Tyler Xavier is still normal, but he's obviously become unhinged. There's a lot of stuff in that performance where business people sit in the audience and going, "Oh, that's so close to the truth, it hurts." And I think that's the real fun with these things.
You said something that I think needs to be repeated, which is, instead of doing probably what most people do, which is try and be loved by as many people as possible, you look for the one person or the 1% or the handful of people that are going to connect with you in the most deepest, profound way. That these are the people that will come up to you afterwards. These are as I said in my soliloquy, the jobs, the careers, the lives that you will end up changing. Most of those people, the bland, polite applause that any one of us would get, including myself, you will never hear from them again. They will never change their actions. Their behavior will never be impacted. And the fact that you've actually turned it on its head using the extreme approach, I think is an important one. And it does speak to the importance of quality over quantity.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, I'm also aware that there's you have to remember, Joseph, that when I'm doing these things, I'm sandwiched in between a keynote presentation about programmatic advertising and content marketing. So it's like, and
Imagine
I
following you. It's like,
well, you know, it's at the beginning when these things weren't that well known, nobody knew what they were getting. So, or nobody who was following me would know what was coming. The passing has been watched now by over 30,000 people, and it's known. So my work is known. The organizers, when we were doing live things, knew what they were getting. They would ask me to come for a very, very specific reason. That reason would be to kind of ruffle feathers, shake the boat a little bit, wake people up. There would always be a discussion about, well, when do we put Marcus on? Do we put him on at the end? Do we put him on at the beginning? Then there would be arguments with other speakers. We don't want to follow this. So it's a really interesting thing how it kind of progressed. It's weird talking about it, Joseph, because the whole passing piece, that trilogy, is kind of done for me. I'm putting together the scripts so that other people can do them. It feels like I don't need to do them anymore. Maybe it'd be kind of fun for I don't know, the Bournemouth gang to put on their own productions of Flex or the Sensorium Process or something, because it's all for me. It's just about the it's moved on. It's about a wicked pack of cards. It's about the universe that I'm creating there, and
I get that, and I get the fact that it's not a fad. It's not a gimmick. There is a profound discovery happening, both inside but also externally as well. I want to go back to that Bournemouth presentation, because what struck me when you told the story is the inherent risk that you took. It wasn't just the host hiring you, it was your own risk, because it was only while you were delivering that you could actually feel that it was working, and you could feel the impact that it would make on your life and how you would be forever changed. And it just,
well, yeah, I mean that it wasn't. When I was flying, I can remember when I flew over. It was in September 2017, I think. So I was flying over. There was a one flight every day from Munich to Southampton. It's six in the morning, and there were 3 people on the flight. And I can remember kind of getting on this thing and flying over and thinking about, and just going through the script and looking at it and thinking, I really do believe in this one. This really is the one. And then, I mean, Matthew Desmier, the organizer of the event, he booked me the year before, and I'd done something that the performance was called. I can't remember what it was called. Something about apocalyptic fantasy, neo-apocalyptic fantasies or something. And there were some elements of it in there, and people seemed to like it, but it wasn't a piece. It was more kind of like a clever gimmick. It wasn't a rounded piece. I didn't realize. I would realize while I was performing it and seeing in the people's reactions that they were getting it. They were being drawn into, there were phases in my performances. There are phases the audience go through. It's a classic 3-act structure to all of them. The first is, what's he doing? I thought this was a marketing conference. Was it? And then they go, that's phase 1. And phase 2 is, oh. And then the final phrase is, oh my God, he's really going to do it. So they go through these phases, and while I was watching the Bournemouth audience doing it, the theatre that they used for Silicon Beach is as a performer, you're very close to the audience because they have a very high kind of like seating arrangement that goes up quite dramatically, so you're very, very close and can see everybody. And you can kind of like, there were little gasps and little kind of like hands in front of mouths, and some people stood up at the end, and it was like one of those things where you felt, oh bloody hell, this is I think I may have smashed that one. And afterwards, I was sat by myself in the hotel, and I was just drinking some wine, thinking, I have to be doing this. This is what I have to be doing again, because I was doing performances and writing like that kind of stuff at Dartington, and after Dartington, when I moved to Germany, I was exhibiting stuff and doing weird kind of like tiny, strange performances. But as many young artists will tell you, you have to get a sensible job at some point, and I ended up in bloody advertising, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, but you escaped, and that's the most.
I got out, but it was an amazing moment. Sitting in the hotel bar with actually, it was a bottle of wine. And just
wine.
Thinking about, it was an amazing moment.
So it reminds me, as I'm listening to you, of how at school, growing up in South Africa, my favorite subject or my favorite part of school was what we called English composition. And I just used to love taking risks with my writing. And I would always say that I would for me, the litmus test or the evaluation was, I would walk out of every exam thinking I either got a AA, or I either got full marks, or I got a 0. And I just loved living on the edge. I loved being at that moment where it can go either way. You believe in it. You wouldn't have written it if you didn't think it was good. But you just know that it's out of your hands now, and the right person hopefully interprets it, and you knock it out the park. The wrong person, or maybe a person on a bad day, reads it, and you literally tank. And I loved that. I lived for it.
Yeah, I kind of can't do this stuff any other way. That's why I talk about art as alchemy, because I kind of believe that as I said at the beginning, talking about asking yourself what art is, or trying to find out what art is basically a postmodern kind of exercise. But I think that artists take the world apart and put it back together again in a way that makes sense to them, which is magic. I can do normal stuff. I just don't believe in it. I can do a normal key. I'm really good at pitching. I can win business and stuff. I just don't want to do it anymore, and I don't believe in it. What I do believe is creating these worlds, and
these fusions between the corporate, which is the expected, the conventional, the precedented, the best practices, and beautiful art. I want to make sure that we have time to talk about the tiny box and how you've used this alchemy and these dark arts and spells to help people trapped in the tiny box. I do want to mention a few things. One is, you remind me of David Byrne, who I mean, he's not as good looking as you. I mean, clearly.
He has better hair.
But he came up with the, I'm not even going to pronounce the envisioning, emotional, you know what I mean, logical information. This was all about PowerPoint. I don't know if you followed this at all, but he literally came up with this whole CD-ROM kit on how PowerPoint could be the most effective way to create art and communicate. And in many respects, the fusion between the creative, the artist, the performance artist, and the mundane, expected corporate world is exactly what you've done. I also want to just make note of, and by the way, I've pasted below in the comment section the link to Flex. There is so much, even in the beginning of Flex, there is so much, there are so many nuggets, from hustlepreneurship to make the world great again, which I'm sure was created before Make America Great Again.
It wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well, then perfect. Even I mean, that's what I thought initially, and I was like, good one there, buddy. But what you've done is talk a little bit about the tiny box. And I even asked you about this at the beginning. I was like, what is the tiny box? And you've now chosen, as the next phase of your journey, your adventure, to focus your skills and your talent on helping people figure out how to, I don't know, either break out the box or figure out how to work within the box. What is the box?
Okay, let's break all of those bits down. So the tiny box is the box we're actually in right now. So it's the screen space. As everybody, yeah, exactly. So as everybody who is involved in any kind of live event will tell you, as you know yourself, so that not only speakers, but lighting technicians, audio technicians, stagehands, caterers, they went through as a good friend of mine, Vincent, described, a cancellations tsunami in March last year. And we had all of our live gigs cancelled. So basically, our entire 2020 revenue wiped off the books. It was, I didn't sit down and think about, okay, well, I didn't want to pivot. I didn't have a pivot plan. I don't even like the word. I like it if you call it a pivot. But I just sat down and was watching what people were doing, and racing to live streams and racing to do virtual events, watching the product, and it was awful. Just trash. Talking heads, talking over PowerPoint slides. That's not the context we're in. That's not the tiny box. So I started thinking about what the tiny box actually is and looking at it as a context. And I did basically the same process or same work that I did with the conference stage, and try to think about, okay, well, what are the rules? What are the actual contextual elements of giving a performance on screen? What are the limitations and how can we break them? Was asked by, I'm the chairman of the advisory board for a festival here in Munich called 48 Forward, and Daniel, who I believe he was earlier, he was on the stream earlier, is watching. He's the founder of 48 Forward, and he asked me to do a virtual talk for the virtual festival that replaced the one that we were planning. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to pre-record it. And that was kind of like a sketch for what I thought a virtual tiny box format could be. Parallel to that, I've been helping people for years with something which I now call as a service called Speakery, which is just basically speaker training. But from the standpoint of a performance artist. So not some kind of corporate consultant guy telling you how to give a keynote performance, kind of like proper acting performance tips and tricks from me. And I decided to put that know-how and the stuff that I'd learned by doing this one video called The Tiny Box, this one kind of tiny talk, into a tiny talk series, which went on to explain how to build them and what's important about them, and about energy levels, and about how to edit, and the new skill set for keynote speakers, and pretty much all of the things that you've discovered for yourself. But I popped them into a series of free, now 4 videos, And those videos actually saved my business for 2020. And as we mentioned in the pre-show lobby,
wait, before you give it away, I have this video that is normally, they say the rules of doing a streaming show. By the way, I'm not sure who they are. So let's just assume they are
them.
Yeah, the people there. They say you should not show a video longer than, I don't know, 60 seconds or 90 seconds. I think this is 4.5 minutes, but it's well worth watching. And someone earlier had actually asked the question, do you have any tips for people delivering virtual presentations? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's watch this 4.5 minute video and then wait for the final words, phrases that will feed into this idea of how it changed your life.
QVT.
Cue the video. What does the T mean?
Tape. Jesus Christ, Joseph.
This is digital. This is streaming, damn it.
Want to smash a virtual presentation out of the ballpark? This is how you smash a virtual presentation out of the ballpark. My name is Marcus John Henry Brown, and I'm a performance artist who hacks business conferences with performance art and teaches business people the dark art of stagecraft. Well, I did before this bloody virus came along. I want to share my top tips of how to write, craft, and perform a virtual talk at a virtual conference. This is my first tiny talk. The first thing you need to grasp is that the context has changed. You're not in a conference room or on a conference stage anymore, but in a tiny box on somebody's mobile phone, tablet, or computer. You're not a physical being anymore. You're a pixel being. You're a moving picture. You've become a film. That's the new context for your intellectual product, for your talk, for your performance, and the ideas in your brain, which I like to call your virtual brain product. The fantastic Vicky Ross tells us that we have to write for real people. Yes, but no. You see, that certainly plays a part in how you write your virtual talk. But in terms of performance, you're writing and producing something for really distracted people. There's a lot going on in their lives right now. There's a lot going on around them in their work from home hellscapes. Now, this means that your talk needs to be tight, well-paced, and as Kurt Vonnegut once said, you need to start your story as close to the end as you possibly can. They need to be short, concise, and exciting. They also need to be as film-like as they possibly can. Remember, the context has changed. You're not locked in a physical room with an audience that can't escape from your musings and your endless rambling. You've become a video, you've become a moving picture, a film that they can escape, that they can turn off, tune out of, and close their laptops on.
Write as though nobody's watching, because nobody's watching.
You're beyond PowerPoint and Keynote now. You are making a film. Use moving pictures, for heaven's sake. Let's assume that you wanted to tell a story about John F. Kennedy. Now, in the good old days of conferences, you would have probably crafted a beautifully designed slide with a picture. But you can use moving pictures now. You can give the audience a better idea of the man you're talking about and the story that you want to tell. You can let them see what kind of man he was.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
And then there's your performance and working with the camera. Here's what Werner Herzog has to say about working with the camera.
It's like death staring at you when you look at a camera.
And he's right, the camera sucks all of the energy out of your performance and can make a shy or ill-prepared performer look...
Ron, where's my legs?
So that means you have to give a little bit more, 20% more of yourself to be more engaging. You have to embarrass yourself to keep the audience engaged. And you have to practice. You're a professional, for heaven's sake. Practice your talk. Know what you're going to say before you hit the record button. Be a professional. Stop wasting the audience's time just because you didn't take the time to practice properly and make yourself look as good as you possibly could. And if mistakes happen, it doesn't matter. You can fix them in post. You can fix them in the edit. Make jump cuts. Get rid of all of the errors, all the ums and the ahs and the technical issues. Just chop them out, for heaven's sake. The edit becomes part of the performance. You can control it, you can tweak it, you can form it. Your virtual talk is your virtual brain product. Don't let your virtual brain product let your actual brain product down. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found it engaging. I hope you found it interesting. If there's anything more you would like to know, how I make the videos, what kind of tech I'm using, if you want me to help you make your virtual brain product, your virtual talk better, then feel free to get in touch. I'm more than happy to help you in exchange for money.
That last line was just worth waiting until the end. In exchange for money. You spoke about how these talks changed your whole path.
Yeah, well, the performance has changed. It took me down the road and back to my spiritual home of art and standing on stages and taking the world apart and putting it back together again in a way that made sense to me. Those 3 videos took it all down a different step, like a parallel street. At the time of making them, we didn't know. I mean, they were in May 2020. So we were just kind of getting to a little taste that this whole thing might be taking a little bit longer. But we didn't quite know it yet. So I was trying to find ways of doing something more interesting, trying to find what the next video is. It talks about how to do the kind of like the perfect tiny talk and what a perfect a virtual event might look like, which was quite provocative and caused an awful lot of arguments. But it was that final line in the videos, and I used that line, I'm more than happy to help in exchange for money, in all of them. And it seemed to trigger a response that, oh, okay, so we can actually hire you to do this stuff for us. I was like, yes, you can. Hire me. So that was really, really important, and it really did. Those videos really did save my 2020, and I'm very, very pleased with them. Actually, I like watch. There are YouTube videos I've done where I go, oh no.
Oh, I love it. I love virtual brain product. I love hellscapes. I love soul being. I love so much. There are so many nuggets, and with you, your word choice, your phraseology, as well as the insights all come together. There is form and there is function, and I've watched that now 2-3 times already today, and I agree with you. But I just want to touch on one thing before, sadly, we wind up this segment, but move over to our Zoom after show. Beautiful little subtle segue into our after show, which is, I was actually given this advice the other day, which is remind people, Joe, that you're a speaker, that you actually know how to do this, that you actually do this for a living. And I was like, what do you mean? They said, well, tell people that you are available for presentations and keynotes. And I was like, but they kind of know that, don't they? And there are so many people do it. And again, the voice from up top said, well, why do you assume that everyone on your LinkedIn page or whatever knows this? And I think just the ability, it's so funny how you ended the video with in exchange for money, but it's become like a bit of a calling card. And I think why it's worked for you is because it works for all of us. We need money, right? But we need a voice, and you became that voice in terms of reminding people out there that, it is commerce that ultimately, and a value exchange, a monetary value exchange that allows artists everywhere to continue to make art.
Very much so. Pay artists, hire them in exchange for money.
So we leave with a couple of thoughts. One is the quote of the episode, which I thought of for you. If you don't have shadows, you're not in the light.
Ooh. That sounds like a fake Chinese proverb.
You're right. So fake that it was from Lady Gaga herself.
There you go.
There you go. Maybe she was confused or maybe she thought she was confusing.
Do you know my favorite fake Chinese proverb is from Casey Neistat?
All right. I know who that is.
Well, the fake Chinese proverb, let me see if I can get it right, is people who say it can't be done shouldn't try to stop people who are doing it.
I mean, profound words. Exactly. Tom Morris, by the way, says, great reminder that we still work. It's not all a permanent vacation for all of us displaced, but left alive by COVID so far. I thought a very poignant end to this wonderful coming together or reconnection for us in many respects. Maybe first time we're doing it like this, but we certainly have parallel, what do they call it? Parallel played before in the social media sandbox. And if you want to find out about that, you can come and hang out with us in the after show. But before we do that, you are the leadoff hitter, which is a baseball analogy that you probably don't understand much.
No idea.
But this week's Corona question, which you immediately said to me, you got it, is what business person or leader is one to watch for you in 2021?
It's a 28-year-old man who goes by the name of Nade Shot. His real name is Matthew Haag, and he is the CEO of 100 Thieves in California.
Are you going to tell us why, or is that my homework to find out and bring him on the show? If he'll come.
Well, if you get him on the show, my friend,
then what?
Then I can guarantee you that you're going to have a lot more people on the stream. Matt Haig is a former Call of Duty world champion. He is a streamer, and he is a CEO of a esports stroke content farm university called 100 Thieves. They're also a fashion brand on par with Supreme. So they sell out of their fashion, their hoodies and their clothes sell out within 5 minutes. So they generated $500,000 or turned over $500,000 in 5 minutes on their last fashion drop. He's a fascinating individual. 100 Thieves is a fascinating business model. Esports is the future of sport. That's my one to watch. Matthew Haag.
I have a very simple, persistent approach to guest relations, which is I will email you every single day for the rest of your natural life until you eventually succumb and come on the show. And that's exactly probably how I got you on, right? So it's just persistence.
Yeah.
Marcus,
it wasn't, but okay.
but let's leave them thinking that.
So the illusion.
Exactly. Guest number 186, Marcus John Henry Brown, also known in famous Morse code circles as dash dash dot dash dot dash dot dash dot dash dot pause dot pause. Well, you know what I mean. I just made it past the Marcus John. This is a man who has fused the worlds of mundane with surprise and delight and the art in heart, shall we say. You can follow him on the Twitter. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Please purchase a wicked pack of cards, a book of unusual business spells. I can do that too. Look, I can do that too. See? What else can we say about you? Subscribe to his incredible YouTube channel where you can see videos like Flex, like the amazing Flex, and find out about things like hustlepreneurship, how to make the world great again, and how to leverage your virtual brain product. And now, do you want more time? I'll give you some more.
No, that's fine. Joseph, thank you so much for having me on. I hope that was interesting.
Well, we'll see on the Zoom after show if anybody shows up. But ultimately, if you want to hear whether you are interesting or not, there's only one man that can tell you, and of course, that is the warden of Corona TV, Mr. Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
So you made it. At least you appealed to him.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at CoronaTV.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.